Terrain for Warcry. Ever since the starter set went out of production, it has become a bit hard to figure out what sort of terrain to get for your Warcry games. In this video, I'm going to look at all of the different options and weigh them against each other. Welcome in, people of the tube! Today we are talking about terrain for Warcry. My name is Peter Tuber, and you're living in the age of miniatures. So, what options do you have if you want to get some terrain for Warcry? When you play Warcry, the terrain is really important because it's one of the things that makes this mobile, very fast game pretty fun, because you can move up and down terrain, jump down, jump. So the absolute best option for getting some terrain for Warcry is the original starter set. Sadly, you're out of luck since it is out of production. It is possible to find it secondhand, or if you can find a retail store that still has a copy, there is a lot of terrain in the starter set. And it's quite beautiful, unique, and it suits the game of Warcry very well. You get a lot of different pieces, and it is very easy to paint up super beautiful with minimal effort. The best thing about the starter set is that you also get the core book, tokens, all of the cards that you need to play the game, including 2 warbands. So it's just packed with value. I love that set. A good thing about the set is also that you get terrain in different levels, making the movement a bit more interesting. Also, some of the other terrain boxes actually uses some of the terrain for the starter set in their terrain cards, so having a copy of this is really good. Something that's slightly a bummer is that the small debris stuff, like this, it looks cool on the table, but in game terms it actually doesn't really have a mechanic. You can move over it without losing movement, so that's sort of weird. But as I started by saying, maybe you can't get a copy, and then we have to look at the other options for you. You can get some terrain that sort of looks like some of the bits from the Warcry starter set, and that is the Azerite Ruined Chapel and the Azerite Shattered Plaza. If you really want a starter set with everything in it, I suggest waiting for the next starter set. The Catacombs with 2 new warbands will be out soonish. The Catacomb terrain looks great. It doesn't have enough height differences in the terrain, in my opinion, and it has a bit less terrain than the starter set. But some of the terrain are sort of similar or even the same. But that's your best option if you cannot get a copy of the original starter set and you want warbands, core rulebook, and everything in one purchase. If you're looking to get started right now, you need something else. These are your options. All of the options where it says Warcry on the box will have tokens and include terrain cards for setting up the battlefield. So you can get the Shattered Stormvault. This is a cool box, but for Warcry standard it falls a bit flat. This is because the terrain doesn't really have any sort of leveling to it. It is all sort of the same height, making it less ideal for the cool movement of Warcry. While it looks great, I think you need something else on top of that to make it work for a good Warcry game. Next up we have the Defiled Ruins. This hits a bit closer to the original terrain from the starter set. Sadly, you don't get as much sort of debris and small stuff, and you don't get the big clock tower, and you don't get a staggering amount of terrain, but it is a good set with some platforms to jump up and down off. The next option is pretty sweet, and I have wanted to get my hands on this set to use it together with my other terrain for Warcry. The reason I like this set is because it has threes in it. You can actually place fighters on top of the threes, making this a very unique set with some other possibilities that are just very great. Other than the cool threes, the Souldrain set is lacking a bit of stuff in it. It doesn't have very much terrain, but the board is cool, and I really like it if you can complement it with something else as well. The last terrain set is Corpsewrack Mausoleum. Sadly, this has also went out of production, so you can't get it from Games Workshop, but you can be lucky enough to find it from a retail store near you or maybe online. There's also the option of buying it second hand. This is a beautiful terrain set. The snowy board I really like, and I would love to get my hands on this set. Sadly, I don't think it's very good for Warcry because you cannot stand on the buildings, and the buildings are quite small. So while this is a cool set, it might not be the best. What you can also do is use the rules for Tomes of Champions for the terrain. That means you can use terrain that is not in a Warcry set. What this really does is that expands what terrain you can use to everything really. You can build it yourself, you can use other Age of Sigmar terrain, or you could branch out and convert some of the Kill Team 40k terrain to look at a bit more fantasy, and that I think would be very amazing. In fact, I am hoping to do just that with all of my 40k terrain that I don't really use. So I will try and juggle them up to make them look a bit more in line with my other Warcry terrain. So what is the best option for you if you want to get some terrain on the table right now? I think the Defiled Ruins or the Souldrain Forest will get you the most bang for the buck and will make for the most exciting Warcry game. The Stormvault and the Mausoleum, while cool, is just not suited enough for Warcry. If you are watching this video before the 1st of November, you still have a chance to enter my giveaway. What you can win is the supply drop for Underworlds. I'm giving it away for free. You just need to subscribe and leave a comment on any video before the 1st of November. If you want to see more Warcry content, consider subscribing to my channel. I try and do a lot of coverage for beginners, be that Warcry or painting.